Hello everyone, this is Sunave and I'm coming to you with Sweet Insomnia, a Jeff the Killer X reader by DarkQueenXxRei. We're going to be starting off with Nightmare 6, Regret. You woke up in the back seat of the car. You were leaning your head against the seatbelt and breathing steadily. The sun was directly in your face and your legs were sticking to the leather chair. You looked over at Jeff, sleeping in the driver's seat. His head was tilted back against the headrest and the chair leaned backward slightly. It was calm. You looked out the window at the trees that surrounded all four sides of the vehicle. The wind hitting the leaves and the foliage created a beautiful and symphonic sound. You took off your seatbelt and opened the car door. The fresh air hit your face immediately and took over the entire space in an instant. You stood up and took a couple wobbly steps away from the automobile, and you stretched your back a little and looked around. Jeff must have driven to the secluded spot when you fell asleep. He didn't know why he wouldn't just take you to a hotel or back home, but with all the confusion, he decided it would be best to not question it. "Hey, Wyan," Jeff muttered groggily as he closed the car door behind him and walked around to the side. "Hey," he yawned. "Do we need to leave soon?" You crossed your arms and laid on one hip. "Not exactly," he replied. "But we can't stay here forever, either." He wrapped his arms around you and sighed. You put your head in his chest and closed your eyes. "I want to make sure of something," you said. "What is it?" Jeff asked, pulling away. You looked up at him and frowned. "I want to know exactly when I fell asleep." "Midnight, I told you," he said. "And I only slept for 2 hours," you questioned. "Yeah, you fell asleep at midnight on the 10th night and slept for only 2 hours. This is the 11th day," he confirmed. "Why?" "It's just that in my dream, when you tried to kill me, it felt too real," you declared. He shook his head and held your hand. "It didn't happen," he promised. "You said that it was a long dream, right?" "Yeah, I think so," you said. "And it was really detailed, but I can't remember much right now." "I'm sure it was just your brain putting all your fears into one big nightmare," he explained. "I know it sounds weird, but I tried to talk to you." "What do you mean?" you asked. "Well, when you were sleeping, I said some things trying to wake you up," he confessed. "I promised you that everything would work out okay and that I would always be there for you." You actually recalled him saying that. "In my dream," you muttered. "I think you told me that at one point." You looked down slightly and said, I'll believe you, for now." He snaked his arms around your waist and kissed you on the lips. It was kind of passionate, but very sincere. When you pulled back, you looked away from him and back towards the car, leaving him standing alone. "Wyan, wait," Jeff called. "What?" you asked, turning around. I don't like how we are now. I don't want you to be mad at me or feel like I'm doing this on purpose," he said. I don't know, Jeff. How would you feel if you were in my shoes?" you asked. "What if you couldn't remember anything? The memories you once loved?" "I understand what you mean, but I can tell that you didn't like those memories," he replied. "You didn't like them? What memories are not to like? Sure, there are some things you regret or don't like, but we all get over them one day." "I'm sure that there's nothing I wouldn't want to remember," you bickered, getting angry. "You just wanted your memories back, but apparently it was impossible." "Those 2 years that we knew each other before all this were sweet," he declared. "But there are some parts of it that even I wish I didn't know about. I would get rid of those memories if I could." "Then why don't you?" you yelled. "Take your anger out on yourself for once." Jeff stared at you with hurt and guilt in his eyes, and he shook his head as he said, "I'm not angry." "Vengeance," you cried. "This is your revenge on them. This has nothing to do with me. You believe that he was only using you. He just wanted to get back at Jane and Smiley, right?" you thought. "Stop it," he shouted. "You don't even like me," you said bluntly. There was a strain in your voice, and your eyes were swimming in sadness. "That's a lie, and you know it," Jeff yelled as he grabbed your wrist. "Let go of me," you screamed. He stopped moving completely and just stared into your eyes. Regret and denial showed on his face, and he slowly let go of your arm. You stepped back slightly, but still kept your gaze on him. "I don't want to say it again," he mumbled, looking down at the ground. "But there's nothing you can do." "What are you talking about?" you stuttered quietly. "I love you, and you can't change that. I know that it's impossible for you to imagine, but I fell in love with you over those 2 years, he said. He sounded like he was repeating something, and it was like how an amateur actor would read from a script. You won't have enough time with me now to feel the same way, but I swore that I would keep you alive, he cried. You felt a tear fall on your cheek as you leaned back against the car. And before Jeff could notice your hurting eyes, you opened the door and sat inside. You slammed the door shut and cried into your hands. A couple minutes later, Jeff slid into the driver's seat with a blank face. He started the car and drove down the trail until you hit the main road. After gaining some pity, you asked quietly, "Where are we going?" Jeff sighed and answered, "The cliff where we met." Nightmare 7. Regress. The car pulled up to a secluded spot in a heavy wooded area. Surprisingly, it wasn't a very long drive. Jeff got out of the vehicle first and came around to meet you on the other side. You kept quiet as he led you through paths and helped you over broken trees. You didn't get too tired of walking since the leaves and clouds blocked the sun. The wind was pretty strong as well. "I'm not really supposed to bring you back here," Jeff muttered as he put his hands in his hoodie pockets. "But I think you'd like to see it." You nodded and walked beside him towards a clearing. And just past it was a beautiful horizon that proved an afternoon thunder shower soon to come. The darkness of the sky gave you a sense of anticipation. And when you reached the clearing, you looked around and saw the edge of the path, which then made a 90-degree angle downward. You looked over the cliff and saw the beginning of a small lake about 25 stories below where you were standing. You stepped backward slightly, distancing yourself from the drop. And Jeff stood beside you and said, "It was right here that I pushed you down." You wondered what his purpose for bringing you out here was. Was he planning something? "Why are we here?" you asked. "Are you trying to jog my memories?" You kept a blank face and stared off in the distance. And Jeff looked at you, but quickly looked away. He muttered, "No, I just wanted to show you the place we met at." You turned slightly and looked over your shoulder, paranoid that something would come running out of the woods and attack you. You didn't know why you had this fear, but it was definitely there, and just as your hidden fear for Jeff was. "You can go back to the car if you want," he said as he turned to face you. You started to turn back, but you stepped on a rock and your foot slipped off of it, and you felt yourself falling towards the edge. Jeff quickly grabbed your wrist and pulled you back, embracing you in a tight hug, and you and him were shaking over the near-death experience. Are you okay?" he asked. You were hit with a strong wall of deja vu. I'm fine," you replied. He let go of you and said, "Let's go back now." He started to walk back towards the woods, but you caught his sleeve and pulled back. "Hold on," you called. "Yeah," he replied. He turned around and stared deeply into your eyes. "Jeff," you started. I'm scared." You looked up at him and met his gaze. I'm scared that you're going to kill me or that Jane and Smiley are going to find me." You started to cry as you said, I don't think I'm going to make it, Jeff. I'm confused. I'm lost." Each word expressed more of your locked-up emotions. "I've lost all of my trust in you," you muttered. Jeff just stood without expression and wiped a tear from your eye, and he pulled you in for a hug gently. He didn't say a single word. It wasn't until he pulled away that he spoke. "Ryan," he squeezed out. "Run." He stumbled to the side and then fell on his knees, and you then saw a knife sticking in his back. You widened your eyes and directed your attention towards the woods, and you saw someone stepping out from behind a tree. "I thought I told you," the figure said. "If you ever came back, I would kill you." The girl had on a black dress, and her hair was as dark as a raven. Her lipstick and eye makeup matched the void, and the only thing that stood out was her extremely pale skin. She had a crooked smile and mischievous eyes. It was the girl from the elevator, otherwise known as Jane. You screamed and looked at Jeff, who was signaling for you to go, and you darted to the right, making your way along the edge of the cliff. And when you were far enough away, you headed to the side and tried to remember your way back to the car. You started hearing noises from all around, and they were strange noises too. There were gunshots and screams that came from hundreds of different voices. It was like a hallucination. You eventually gave up and stopped running. There was no way you would be able to find the car, as you were definitely lost. You looked up at the sky that started to open. A couple of raindrops turned into buckets of water in a matter of seconds. It got darker as well, so you had trouble finding where to step. Your mind was in a daze as you spotted the faint outline of a house, and with closer eyesight, it turned out to be a cabin. It didn't seem too old, as the wood was still a nice color and finish, and plus the windows were polished and the lights were on inside. You stepped onto the doormat and knocked on the door. The roof was extended from the house so that it blocked the rain from reaching you, and it made it easier for you to wait longer. The door opened and a warm smell filled your nose and registered in your brain. You immediately felt welcome to the space. A tall man stepped in the doorframe and greeted you. He had on a black t-shirt and khakis. He seemed like he would be in his 20s at the most, and maybe he could help with Jeff. "Hello," he said smoothly. "To what occasion do I owe this visit?" He spoke so formally that you were washed away in his words. The hospitality in his demeanor was great. Do you have a phone?" you asked nervously. You shivered slightly as the wind picked up. The man smiled at you and replied, "Of course. Why don't you come in and dry off?" He backed up slightly and gestured his hand towards the warmth of his living room. "Thank you very much," you said as you stepped inside. You took off your shoes at the doorway so that you wouldn't trace water inside, and you looked back at the man who was closing the door behind you. It didn't strike you as odd when he locked it. "Go ahead and take a seat," he muttered. "I'll go get you a towel so you can dry off your hair." He walked away down the corridor and disappeared from earshot. You took a moment to look around at the decor. Some pots and random art pieces were on the shelves. There were photographs on the table framed by a beautiful mahogany wood. They stood out against the green-tinted walls. Everything was strangely clean. Not one item seemed out of place, and there wasn't a single speck of dust to be found. Even the picture frames were recently polished and washed. Did he just move in? That's what you assumed until you noticed that all the photographs were of different people. Not one person was in more than one photo. You figured that this guy had many family members, but it was strange that he didn't have a wife or kids to show off. Quite frankly, none of these people looked like him at all. And speak of the devil, he walked back in as you glanced at a new photograph. "Here," he said, extending a fluffy white towel towards you. "Thank you," you genuinely replied as you took it from his arms. He held it up to your face and wiped off a couple of drops of water. The man smiled a bit wider when he said, "I never thought I would see you again, Ryan." That is the end of that chapter. Let me know how you guys feel about that chapter, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Next chapter is Nightmare 8 Rondir, if I'm saying that right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.